What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of From the Sidelines. I'm Cullen Mac.
I'm Daniel DiMaggio.
And boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. I've got a little bit of sadness. I'm a dry saddle today. If you look at my jersey, you could probably see why. Game 7 of the NHL Stanley Cup Finals happened today. And man, this series was an absolute, I want to say, tearjerker. This is everything that we kind of wanted that Boston Celtics, Dallas Maverick matchup to be. You know, if it went 7 games, first of all, the Florida Panthers take a demanding 3-0 series lead, and people think, that's it. Then they go back to Edmonton for game 4. The Oilers score 8 points. They win 8-1. That's like unheard of in hockey. It's a baseball score. That's how crazy that is. And people just kind of thought like, oh, it's like the Celtics, they just wanted to win back at home. The Panthers did. Well, they were wrong because it almost looked like it was about to be a reverse sweep.
Game 5, the Oilers won 5-3. They came out to a commanding 3-0 lead, I remember, and at that point it was wraps for the Panthers. And then in Game 6, they won 5-1. So another lopsided victory, which would make us 3-3, right? And then we had the game tonight.
Where do we end up? We end up today for Game 7. Unfortunately, the Edmonton Oilers lost in Game 7, 2-1 to the Florida Panthers. But, what a playoff series that was. It was so thrilling. I feel like I was on the edge of my seat every single moment. It was so cool, at least down to the very final buzzer. Props to Connor McDavid, who won the Conn Smythe Stanley Cup playoff MVP trophy.
That took the breath out of that Florida arena. They did not like that. They wanted Bobrovsky to get it.
Yeah, to be fair, though, McDavid, he had the best playoffs out of, I would say, anyone ever, technically, right? So, yeah, definitely very deserving of the Conn Smythe.
You want to hear a crazy stat, Cullen?
Yeah, let me hear it.
The last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup.
It was 18 years ago, right?
31 years ago, I think. 1993 Canadians, Cullen. This wasn't only going to be a win for the Oilers, but a win for Canada as well. And McDavid, he couldn't pull through tonight, but he had so much pressure on his back. Draisaitl wasn't on his saddle, didn't get anything going. And Skinner can only do so much at the goalie position. They're going to score goals. Barkov on the Panthers is an incredible player. He might not be McDavid's level, but he's one of the top offensive players in the game. So it was a matter of time before the Panthers woke up again, and boy, did they wake up at the right time.
You could kind of tell just at the end of that game, the Oilers were gassed. I mean, it was crazy. And the Panthers, led by their leader, Matthew Tkachuk, they came to play today. They were physical. They were hitting guys on the boards. They were hitting them after the whistle. I mean, they wanted to show a statement today, and that's exactly what they did. And hey, they're the Stanley Cup champions for a reason.
What's a better hockey name, Colin? Evan Bouchard or Leon Draisaitl?
Draisaitl sounds cool, but since he did nothing in the Stanley Cup Final, I'm going to go with Bouchard. Also, shout out to Dan Bouchard. That was my dad's hockey coach when he was a goalie. Some other hockey news. I mean, we talked about it, the Arizona Coyotes relocating to Utah. They've officially become the Utah Hockey Club, and they've released their color scheme, at least for this upcoming season. It does take some time to fully have a rebrand and a new name. If you were the owner of that team, what would you rebrand to?
The Park City, Utah RVs? No. The Utah RVs, the Utah Yetis was one that really stood out to me. The Utah Stormin'
Mormons? Oh, I would totally be there for that. The Utah, every time they come on to the ice, they're like, hello, my name is Elder Price, and I would like to share Elder Ice. Oh my gosh. That's it. That would be perfect. Well, speaking of other rebrands, the LA Kings and also the Anaheim Ducks are rebranding. Well, kind of. The LA Kings decided to revert back to their 90s logo and branding, and the Anaheim Ducks have decided to really buy into the orange. So we're about to see that one. Hopefully that gets unveiled this week, but they're keeping the duck. So I'm excited to see both of these teams. I love the old Kings colors and their old branding and logo and stuff like that. So
hockey gained a new fan tonight. All week. This Stanley Cup Final has been phenomenal.
All right, well, that wraps it up for the NHL. Congrats again to the Florida Panthers. Let's move on to the NBA. Well, the big news is that the Boston Celtics have won the NBA Finals, and that guy who, according to Jason Kidd, is the best player on the Celtics, the guy that won the Larry Bird Eastern Conference Finals MVP, also won the Bill Russell Finals MVP. I'm talking about Jaylen Brown for Schwapo, number 7, baby. I'm happy for him. You know, he proved all the haters, all the doubters wrong. Like Jason Tatum said, what they gonna say? What they gonna say now?
Celtics, they just steamrolled over the Mavs. I said Celtics in 5. I was just being realistic. I didn't think they stood a chance, and they didn't. The Celtics were phenomenal, 1 through 5.
And 6.
Who's 6?
Kristaps, baby. All right, well, here's what I want to know. Oh, I feel like I just quoted you a long time ago. Here's what you want to know. Here's what I want to know.
Oh, here's what I want to know. We all want to know.
Well, I have a question for you, Mr. DiMaggio. I would like you to rank your top 5 finals performers from this year's finals, starting at number 5.
Number 5, Derek White. Derek White, he averaged 14 points, 5 rebounds on 40% from 3. 40%'s great. Number 4, another grit and grind guy, Glue Holiday. No, Drew Holiday. Drew. That man's a stud. He was going to make that top 5 either way. You just knew it. You know, every finals he shows up. You know, the 21 Bucks team, this team. He was the missing piece. He was the missing piece. I could have put him lower, but the tangibles around Jason Tatum, I put him at 3. You know, he damn near averaged a triple-double. He had 22, 8, and 7. But 39% from the field, like... I'm sorry, you know, that's not good. That's not good. You won, you guys won, but if you're asking me why would I put him below the next guy, it's because of that 39% from 3. Who's the next guy you think I'm going to say, Cullen? So far, I haven't said a single Maverick, by the way.
I think you're going to say someone next, but I think that you're going to say someone else, actually.
Okay, so I'm going to say the person and then just make a noise. I want to hear your reaction. Next player, number 2, Jaylen Brown.
I knew it!
Okay, yeah, Jaylen Brown. Oh, whoa, I thought he won Finals MVP. Wouldn't that put him 1? I'm a statistician. I like looking at the numbers. Jaylen Brown averaged 21 points this series. You look at his numbers, 21, 5, and 5. It doesn't really stand out in the stat sheet. He was clutch. When you needed him most, he scored. That guy pissed me off. He had the touch. He had the charisma. He had the mindset. And he shot 24% from 3, which is it's not good. Not good. But he averaged 2 steals a game. He made up for it on the defensive end, and he was just catching body after body. With that being said, number 1. So far, I still have not said a single Mavericks player.
And he's still not going to. Al Horford, everybody.
No, Kyrie Irving. No, this guy, number 1. Luka Doncic.
Number 77, actually.
You know, I've had a couple days to let this soak, this series. He averaged 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He did everything he could. Say what you want about him as a teammate. When I'm looking at who was the best player that performed in this finals, it was Luka Doncic. Now, with that being said, I'd like to hear what you have to say, Cullen.
Listen, man, I don't know if we need to make separate Google Docs or if you have hacked into my iCloud, but you got to stop taking my lists, okay? Because that was my list exactly. I don't disagree with you at all.
Seriously?
The exact same list, bro. Stop stealing my stuff, man. Gosh. Get off my wavelength. The Lakers finally signed J.J. Redick after weeks of speculation. Will they sign him? Will they not? Is he going to continue his podcast? No, he's not going to continue the podcast, but they signed him to a 4-year deal. I hope they keep him around for the 4 years they signed him to, because it's going to take a year to buy into the system. But, you know, how much more time does LeBron have before, he retires? Does he have a year to buy into this system, or do they need to win right now?
Whenever LeBron James is on your team, you're in win now mode. And I don't think LeBron James has 4 years left. So you're investing in the future with J.J. Redick. You're trusting that he's going to be a part of the draft process. He'll be able to groom talent and make them better. You know, take a young guy like Max Christie. You know, maybe he'll turn him into a nice shooter. I mean, JJ Redick, he went from coaching his kids' basketball teams on the weekends to being the coach of one of the most respected and most glorified franchises in all of sports. Congratulations to former sharpshooter JJ Redick. I have a lot of respect for the guy. I hope he kills it, but not too good, because I want the Clippers to beat their every time we play each other still. I think 4 years is just enough time. After that 4-year mark, I think some eyebrows will be raised.
Scotty Barnes just signed a 5-year, $270 million contract to become the highest paid player in Raptors history.
Is Scotty Barnes worth that?
I saw something today regarding OG Anunoby, who recently declined his player option and will be testing the free agency market. I saw someone say regarding OG, I think I can apply the same thing to Scotty Barnes. I'd rather overpay the guy who has the potential to be a superstar than lose him for a lot less.
My mind has been blown. I don't know. Who do they think he is? Kawhi Leonard? That's a lot of money to throw his way, but it's not my money.
I don't know if he's your number one option on the team. If we saw this year with the Dallas Mavericks, it takes more than one guy, and they definitely need some more help to build around him, but he's definitely a guy I think you keep as a cornerstone piece on your team for a long time.
Well, the saying goes, it takes two to tango. That's why From the Sidelines is me and Mac, baby. I just wanted to wrap up the NBA segment with a question.
Shoot.
I wanted to ask you a question about the legacy of a player of Dominican Republican descent.
I was going to say, is his dad named Tito?
His dad's name is Tito, and his name is Al Horford. My question for you, Cullen, who is a Celtics fan most of the time, the other 5% a Hawks fan, is Al Horford a Hall of Famer?
I know you have the stats right in front of you.
Oh, I got him.
I know you're going to read them out in a second, so I'm going to give my 2 cents on this. Al Horford is one of those guys. He's a championship caliber player. He is the glue of your team. You saw when he was on the Hawks, he was such a big part of that Hawks team. He comes over to the Celtics. The Celtics do not win this year's championship without Al Horford. What Al Horford has done on that Celtics team for the past couple of years, building that championship team, just waiting to get to the finals, I think Al Horford is 100% a Hall of Fame player.
5-time All-Star, 1-time NBA champ, All-NBA once, All-Defensive once. He's averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists over his career. I will leave it to the viewers to decide. Moving on. WNBA, baby.
The W.
Prayers up for Cameron Brink. She tore her ACL last week. That's awful. That's awful, man. It's kind of what happened to Chet Holmgren. It reminds me of a Chet Holmgren. She'll bounce back better than ever, but prayers up to her. The Indiana Fever faced off against the Chicago Sky yesterday, and the Chicago Sky beat them in a nail-biter, 88-87. Kelsey Mitchell over on the Fever has a strap from 3. She looked like Caitlin Clark. Between them two, they looked like the Splash Sisters. They were incredible, and Clark was nickeling and diming. She was setting her teammates up with looks. She played incredible, but those two were not the best player in the game. The best player of that game was Angel Reese. Yes, I said it. It was Angel Reese. And
Bayou Barbie
had 25 points, 16 rebounds. She shot 8 of 12 from the field. She didn't put up a lot of shots, but it doesn't matter. She was getting boards and she was getting putbacks, and she won them that game. Cardoso had a quiet game, 16 points, 10 rebounds, but, and then over on the other side, Aaliyah Boston had 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. This, my friend, the Chicago Sky versus the Indiana Fever is turning into the Celtics-Lakers of the WNBA. Would you agree?
They're many championships and really good records away, but sure.
Well, moving on to my favorite sport, the only sport where you can sit outside, eat a hot dog in one hand, and have a beer in the other.
I feel like I can do that in football and soccer as well.
Major League Baseball. It's been a busy week, especially for my Mets. They're ba-da-ba-ba-ba, loving it. 9-2 in the Grimace era. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Grimace, as in the character from McDonald's, threw out the first pitch a couple weeks ago. And since then, the Mets are 9-2. and are almost back up at 500. Say what you want. I think it is Grimace. The spirit of Grimace has led us to this force. We are unbeatable right now, unless we're the reliever, Edwin Diaz. You have anything to say about Edwin Diaz's 10-game suspension for the sticky stuff, Cullen?
I was just going to ask, when they toss him out of the game, do they play the trumpets when he leaves too? Da, 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 da. See you, Edwin. See you in 10 games. I'll see you in 10 games.
Yeah, his hand looks pretty scuffed up.
Friend of the show, Kyler Conjoyan, was actually at that game at Wrigley Field. He said it was a beautiful sight to see the field and Edwin Diaz being tossed out of the game.
Well, it was good that Edwin Diaz really didn't need to do anything because we were blowing them out of the water already. We absolutely threw haymakers on the Cubs this past weekend. So we won without Edwin. It's almost like they needed to take Edwin out just to give him a chance to win, you know?
And he still needed to use sticky stuff, even though you guys were beating him?
Don't get me started. I wanted to do some mid-season MVP awards. And in the National League, Shohei Ohtani, baby, is batting .318 and 23 bombs, 58 RBIs. I mean,
show bomb!
You can't ask for more from this guy.
Maybe some pitching would be great, yeah.
Right? And on the other side of things, all rise for Aaron Judge, leading the league with 28 home runs with a .300 batting average. I just wanted to point out, when you watch MLB games, you know how there's like the strike zone box? Yeah. Everyone's strike zone box is this big. His is this big. He's incredible. I think he's playing for the wrong New York team. You want to talk about deserving contracts?
I think he's playing for the wrong New York team, too. I think he should be catching passes from Mr. Aaron Rodgers. That dude's, what, 6'7"? How tall is Aaron Judge? Or maybe catching lobs from Jalen Brunson. I mean, geez, man. Come on. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. All right, I'm done. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in to From the Sidelines. I'm Cullen Mac.
I'm Daniel DiMaggio.
We'll see you guys next week.